In this chapter, we're going to introduce you to the score editor and the fundamentals of working with video in Cubase. And by the end of this chapter, you should have a solid understanding of opening and navigating the score editor, using expression maps to expedite scoring, creating sheet music from an audio part, importing and working with video, and replacing the soundtrack in video file. The scoring functions in Cubase are elaborate to say the least. Fully half of the operations manual is dedicated to score. This chapter will give you a few pointers to help you get started. The score editor is a hybrid. It's half MIDI and half desktop publishing. Any changes that you make to these notes in the score will affect the MIDI part that they came from. Now, I recommend making a duplicate MIDI track before you begin working on score. It usually requires a lot of tweaking to get the music to look the way you want, and that can mess up your MIDI part in the process. There are two views in the score editor, one designed for editing and one designed for layout work. Don't be shy about using extreme quantize values to help clean things up. There's also a display quantize feature that applies the quantizing only to the notes on the staff and not the MIDI notes behind them. Also, if you quantize lengths, you can cut down the number of rests. Using text is what frustrates most people, and there are two things to keep in mind when working with text. The first is that the score editor works in 3 layers: note, project, and layout. You have to be focused on a layer to edit the text in that layer. Second, score considers lyrics to be part of the note layer. In fact, it actually considers lyrics to be part of the associated notes. This is why it's important to add lyrics using the proper tool and not by adding text boxes all over the place, which seems to be a very popular workaround for many users. Start with the tab that says Other or Layout. Put the cursor under the first note and type the first word, which may only be a syllable. Press the Tab key to advance to the next note and continue adding words as appropriate. This associates the note and the lyric so that if you move the note, the lyric moves too. The operations manual has extensive details about fine-tuning the font, spacing, and so forth. Here you can see the benefit of the expression map that we set up a few chapters back. A good portion of your dynamics markers are already placed. Cubase supports integrated video. This is a handy feature when doing soundtrack work because you can pull the video right into your project, compose your music alongside it, and then add the music right to the video clip. You can import with the menu, the pool, or by drag and drop. And the manual has a list of compatible formats. But Cubase will tell you if it can't read the video. If this happens, you'll need to find another piece of software to convert it to something which Cubase can read. Also, you need to make sure that the frame rates match between your video and your project. If they don't match, you'll get a warning in red text across the video screen. If this happens, open the Project Setup dialog and adjust Cubase to match your footage. And by the way, you don't have to use the on-screen viewer. Cubase will let you send your video to an external monitor or output via FireWire. Two of the most useful video features are Extract Audio and Replace Audio. This lets you bring in the ambient sound of your recording, add music and effects with Cubase, and then add the combined mix back to the original video file. The Extract Audio from Video command is very straightforward. When you're ready to replace the audio in video, keep in mind it's a 2-step process. First, you have to export your final mix as usual. Then, under the File menu, select Replace Audio in Video File. Now, select the video file whose audio you wish to replace, then select the audio that you want to replace it with, presumably the mix you just created. It's that simple. 2 quick notes about audio replacement. 1. Cubase is actually reusing the audio container in your video file. This means the video file has to have an audio track to begin with. To put it another way, you can't take a video without an audio track and use Cubase to create an audio track. Cubase can only replace one audio track with another. Second, you can use Cubase to swap in audio, not just your mix. You don't even need to have a project open to use this utility. Now let's move on to the next chapter.